YouTube. In today's video, we will be taking a look at 3 generations of the Galaxy Z Fold. Z Fold 4, Z Fold 5, and the Z Fold 6. Which one should you get? Don't pick the wrong one, right? And also, if you have one of these older models, should you upgrade? Is the Z Fold 6 worth an upgrade? We're gonna get into all of that and more, head to head, spec for spec. Let's get the video started. First thing first, the biggest significant difference, and I gotta give props to Samsung for this evolution over the years, is weight. The weight differences, you guys. 263 grams on the Z Fold 4 versus 253 grams on the Z Fold 5, down to a 239 gram weight reduction with the Z Fold 6, and trust me, you notice it. When you pick up the Z Fold 4 in comparison to the other two, it's hefty. So a great way to feel the evolution among the 3 models, although much doesn't seem different from a visual aspect or a design perspective. I guess it's all in the details when it comes to the revisions. Now, one thing that the Z Fold 6 is sporting that the other 2 models is not is an IP48 water and dust resistance versus the IPX8 that both of these have. So these have the same water resistance as the Z Fold 6, but the Z Fold 6 is the first one to have an official dust rating at an IP4 rating. So, I mean, it's not the best dust rating, but it's better than no dust rating, which is what the X stands for in the IPX8 rating. And in the terms of, durability and longevity, dust is one of your worst enemies in a sense to the folding mechanism in these devices. So the more protection, the better. Can't wait to see it get like IP68. At that point, it will be almost bulletproof. Now, really quick, let's just talk about platform, because the platform between these devices is similar yet different. While you can get One UI 6.1, One UI 6.1, but you get One UI 6.1.1. Samsung always does this when they release a new version of the device. They do that 0.1 version of One UI, and they have, One UI specific features to said newer version. As you guys know, this device is sporting some new AI, things working within it and so forth. So this has a different version of One UI, which is 6.1.1 versus the One UI 6.1 that you get on these 2 devices. Now, AI features will eventually come to older devices, but it's delayed, allowing this one to, I guess, shine a little bit more for the moment. All are capable of being upgraded to Android 14 and running Android 14. As a matter of fact, both of these have Android 14, so you're not missing out on the latest Android or One UI experience, minus some of those few features with the Z Fold 6 versus the other 2. Now, there is another area where things are different, and that's in the chip set. The chipset platform, you have Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, and then you have Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. 4 nanometer, 4 nanometer, 4 nanometer. The same, technological structure or architecture being built upon, but different optimized versions of this Snapdragon 8 chip. And in that, you do see improvements in optimization, improvements in slight battery gains. I'm gonna say slight, and we're gonna talk about battery. That's a hot topic, but we'll wait. At the end of the day, yes, you have the latest chip, the latest version of the same chip here, but all in all, the Snapdragon 8, this is the 8 Plus Gen 1, you got the Snapdragon 8, it's just a good chip. And that's why we're on Gen 3 of that same chip versus the next. If that makes sense. So at the end of the day, from a perspective of chip and platform and performance, all of these have great performance and great abilities. Now, yes, the GPU is different amongst all 3. So you got the Adreno 730, Adreno 740, Adreno 750. The real question is that difference under the hood different enough for you? Especially if you're on the Z Fold 4, do you want to go to the Z Fold 6? And will you feel an upgrade? If you're on the Z Fold 5, going to the Z Fold 6, that upgrade, that, that trajectory, it's a lot more flat and almost lateral to a degree. But not so much in small things. but very much in all things, if we want to be frank and honest. So no extreme differences in platform amongst these three devices. Obviously, there is a difference in generational chips, GPU and CPU wise, which does improve and optimize over the years. Now, when we get into the storage, there is a difference in between these two versus this one. We have UFS 3.1 versus UFS 4.0. But at the end of the day, all of these Samsung storage options are fast as ever. So, I mean, UFS 3.1 versus 4.0, definitely not a deciding factor in between these models. And there's no difference in storage capacity or RAM capacity amongst these three. They all do the same thing. And another area where things are so similar, unfortunately, in my argument for what I want to see different, is our screens. These OLED panels. I mean, realistically, they're essentially the same. Oh my gosh. Another area that's all too familiar amongst all three of these devices is going to be in the OLED panels, especially these outer screens, which is a screen that I've expected to change for some generations now, but we have no change. I mean, literally no change. It's like that small, bro. We have a 6.2 inch 904 by 2316, followed by the same 6.2 inch 904 by 2316, followed by this new 6.3 inch 968 by 2376. So a slight improvement in sizing on the outer panel on the Z Fold 6, but is that a separating enough factor from this previous models to warrant any type of upgrade? In my opinion, no. It does look better from the perspective that the bezels have shrunk minimally, but it's still the same screen. And the same is to be said for the internal main panel, the main AMOLED display, which is the almost same 7.6 inch internal AMOLED panel. 1812 by 2176, followed by the same 1812 by 2176 in between the Z Fold 4 and Z Fold 5 with a 373 PPI density. We have a slightly different 1856 by 2160 with a 374 PPI density on this new squared panel Z Fold 6. Now, another thing that is different is the peak amount of nits in between these two to this one. So we're going from 1200 peak nits all the way up to 2600 nits of peak brightness with this Z Fold 6. So it has greatly improved on the Z Fold 6 from where we were at 1200 nits on the Z Fold 4. All 120 hertz. I mean, nowadays that is the standard refresh rate on all panels. Even the front panel rocks up to 120 hertz, you know, LTPO variant refresh rate panels. CJ, there has to be a lot different in the camera department, right? Unfortunately, not as much as you would expect or want. Because when we get into the camera offering, I mean, as far as the selfie camera on all of these, it's the same 4 megapixel internal, you know, undercover camera and the same 10 megapixel front-facing camera on all three of these devices. Now, when we get into the main camera, we have 50 megapixel camera, 50 megapixel camera, 50 megapixel camera, 10 megapixel telephoto, 10 megapixel telephoto, 10 megapixel telephoto, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 12 megapixel ultra wide. Congratulations, you just bought essentially the same phone for 3 years, especially in cameras. And I still have my gripe with Samsung cameras. They do not photograph my skin tones well. You guys will see. I can do a head-to-head camera comparison, but really the only difference is, you know, the internals to process it differently, and I'll do it for that simple matter. But, you know, the same cameras over and over and over. All right, let's do this camera comparison that I'm not so happy and looking forward to, but you know what I mean. I'm gonna put each camera into selfie mode right now, right here in the best lighting offering. All right, jeez, Okay, let's go to the rear camera. We're just gonna do a quick photo, quick video. Actually, let me do video really quick. All right, this is the front-facing camera on all three Z Folds. We have the Z Fold 4, followed by the Z Fold 5, and the new and ever so fresh Z Fold 6. Which one is looking best? Which one is looking better? I mean, they're the exact same camera hardware. The only difference could be how these chips, different set chips, may process it. I do see a difference on the screen though. So is it different enough for you to know? Let me know down in the comment section below. Now, for the rear one, I'm gonna do it differently. I'm just gonna pick it up and I'm just gonna snap the selfie. They probably won't be the exact same face expression or whatever. I'm gonna try my best. But yeah, I'm not finna play myself. I'm gonna do my best to get the same setup and lineup. Come on, man, get my hand. Here we go. Okay, here we are. Same settings. All right, cool. 50 megapixel. I'm gonna hold up the O for 50, all right? And the last but not least, 50 megapixel over here. Okay, now we're gonna have to do video, which is gonna be quite interesting. And last but not least, we got 8K video coming out of the brand new Z Fold 6. Now this better be whipping butt on the Z Fold 5 over there and the Z Fold 4. Because if not, then what's the point? I mean, the camera hardware is the same. So what has changed? Hit the comment section down below and let me know, man, because it's rough over here. All right, so you guys just saw me grab video footage of all three. Now, I have my gripes with Samsung's cameras as far as my skin tones go, but outside of that, you guys can just look at the quality and let me know which one looks the best out of the three, or looks the least worst, you know, or you get what I'm trying to say. But that's the camera test. Let's talk about something else. I really want Samsung to take the S Ultra cameras and put them here. Yes, you might step on the toes of the S Ultra device, but who cares? This is a foldable device. It's for a different type of user. And with the specs that nobody really cares about, I mean, Bluetooth 5.2 versus Bluetooth 5.3 on these two models. They all have great Wi-Fi connectivity, all the same chip at Wi-Fi 6E. Yeah, in all honesty, not much is different over the years. That's one of the true realities going into these three devices. That's one of the true realities as to whether you should or shouldn't upgrade. A lot of people coming from the Z Fold 3, I want to throw this in there, going to the Z Fold 6 are finding themselves feeling very well satisfied in their upgrade. So maybe for the Z Fold 4 user, you wait for the Z Fold 7, and maybe for the Z Fold 5 user, you wait for the Z Fold 8. Unless Samsung does something significant next year with the Z Fold 7, or Z Fold 7 Ultra maybe, or, you know, yeah. Outside of that, these devices are very much neck and neck. The separation is internal technology, chips, GPUs, and I mean, from a design language, let me be fair, I didn't go into, you know, design talk in between these three. As you guys can see, I mean, we're here because I spoke on how not much has changed design-wise over the years, right? If you really look at these from the cameras, they're the same. From the internals, obviously those upgrade. But the biggest change in design language over these 3 years is how seamless the fold actually folds closed. So as you guys can see, the Z Fold 4, look at that nice gap in the rear. On the Z Fold 5, we got better, but there was still a gap there. And on the Z Fold 6, as you guys can see, that gap has improved tremendously. It's practically a flush closure. Oh yeah, just real quick, something I want to add, the hinge. This is a big part of the design development. The hinge on the Z Fold 4 is clunky. Z Fold 5, oh, it got smooth. It kind of has like this spring to it, like a smooth with a spring type action. And then now we have the Z Fold 6, which is, oh man, this is refinement. I just had to add that in there. I forgot to talk about the hinge. I'm tripping, but definitely the best hinge. As far as people who wonder about the crease, I mean, the crease is the crease, right? A lot of people want to see the crease disappear. I don't know if we'll ever get a disappearing crease, but the crease is still evident. But I will say this, the Z Fold 6 has the, I guess, honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I see a crease on all three. The Z Fold 6 is the point where the Z Fold has reached such a great maturity, right? Even though I have my gripes with this design, I gotta give props. This is the mature, or the manifestation of, what's this, like 5-6 years of Z Foldness, and it's a great manifestation of design. This design language on this device is really nice. But when we look at it in all reality and all fairness, in comparison to its previous last couple of years, not much or not enough has happened. So again, I can't tell you if you're on the Z Fold 4 that, hey, the Z Fold 6 is gonna make you feel like you have such a great upgrade. I didn't even talk about battery. Do I even have to? The battery is the same exact battery 3 years in a row. 4,400 milliamp hours across the board. So same design body, not much can really happen with battery unless this device gets wider, which is what I want. Some people aren't for the wider panel. They think that this is the perfect one-handed foldable device, and I think Samsung agrees, which is why they haven't changed. I mean, if you use a typical S Ultra device or a typical, smartphone design, which we've all been using for years now, I don't think it's gonna change much if this gets wider. It's gonna be very much similar to what we expect. Again, the narrow does offer an advantage for some users, but in my opinion, I think it should get wider. Should you upgrade? Again, I don't know if I can tell a Z Fold 4 user going to a Z Fold 6 that you're going to feel an upgrade. I definitely can't tell a Z Fold 5 user going to a Z Fold 6 that you will feel an upgrade. That should answer that question. Now, if you're new to Z Folds and you want to get into them and you may be bouncing in between these because, hey, maybe I could get this one at a great cheap price, you know what I mean? Or I could get this one at a great deal because this one's new and hot. Or because this one is new and hot, there is a great deal and you can grab this one. Obviously, being forward in tech, my opinion is, from a technological longevity standpoint, that you grab the latest so that way you get the longest support and you go the long span. Also, you get to see what the latest of that technology has to offer, the latest durability build, essentially, right? New to foldables, definitely go Z Fold 6 out. If you can afford this in your budget, you can get a good deal on it. That's what I would recommend, like a nice trade-in value or something like that. The full retail price is hefty. If you get a Z Fold 5 at an even better deal than the Z Fold 6 and you're okay and you want to kind of like experiment there, that's fine too. This is a great device. Z Fold 4, like I said, this is like a tank in comparison to these. You don't have the same seamless closure. You don't have dust protection at any point. In here on the Z Fold 6, you got at least an IP48 rating. And again, for longevity and durability, this is why I say you go with the most developed version of this foldable technology if I were coming in brand new. In the verses, yes, the Z Fold 6 is a better smartphone or foldable than these two generations, for sure. It's not by enough to warrant an upgrade, but if it's the first purchase, it's definitely the go-to. Yeah, and that's as simple as put. Not much has changed. More should change, but the Z Fold 6 is a great mature point for the Z Fold.
I rise and I wake and I gotta go get it. I'm making my bed and it's straight to the digits. No cup of jokers, this is acidic, so I take a shot with the lemon and ginger. Look in the mirror like, yeah, I'm that. Look in the mirror like, I'm fitted. Looking outside like the world is all mine. Look in the mirror like, go get it. I gotta get to the scene, I gotta get to the bag now. I can't be chasing on these. They getting, they feeling and dragged down. That's why they just crash out. Stuck in the cell and it's man down. Life getting gone in a flash now. Spinning and I'ma stand out.